introduction. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining on a weekend. I know it's always difficult to join over a weekend, and but you have come to learn something new. So I'll make sure that you learn something new today, and you can go back and try it out different stuff. So how my stuff works is, I usually give sessions, and during my sessions, I try to give a lot of demos rather than the presentations. And why? Because so that you can go back and try things on your own. So whatever I do, you can do on your own, and I'll introduce to some of the platforms that where you can perform all the demos that I do today, absolutely free of cost. So I'll share my screen, and then we'll get started. Okay. I hope you're able to see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So today's session is basically based on introduction to K3S, and which is actually certified Kubernetes distribution. It's a lightweight Kubernetes distribution. So there was a question in a chat in a Q&A that any prerequisite. Yes, there is a prerequisite that you should be knowing the basics of Docker and Kubernetes. But since you have asked, so I'll take first 5 minutes to introduce you to try to rapid fire round kind of introduction to Kubernetes and Docker, and after that we'll move to K3S because the whole session covers a lot of demos regarding revolving around K3S. But yeah, Kubernetes will be definitely a central point. That will be there. A bit about myself. So this is my Twitter handler, Sayyam Pathak. I'm very active on Twitter. And my DMs are open. You can ask me anything about CNCF, Cloud Native, Kubernetes, Docker, or any other personal stuff if you would like to grow in career and all that. So I may not be able to answer immediately, but definitely I'll reply back. Then another thing that I want to cover in the introduction part is that during these COVID times, which are very difficult, people are finding it difficult to learn. I run a lot of meetups in Bangalore, which is for Docker, for Kubernetes, for Rancher. They may sound buzzwords to you, but they are reality. And InfluxDB. So all those meetups groups I run here in Bangalore, they are sponsored by one of the other companies, and people are invited free of cost to join. So since COVID-19, we are unable to do such meetups in Bangalore, and so what I decided is, why not come online and have live sessions. So from there, I am doing live sessions, and this is my YouTube channel. We have done more than four. Yeah, we have done more than 4 sessions, and fifth one is already coming. So you can go here and see, like, one of the sessions. The first one is it introduces to you Go language, which is extremely popular language for cloud native stuff. And Rancher, what Rancher is, Helm 3, one of the CNCF graduated projects. And definitely attend this session next week, which is Docker internals. It is by one of the authors of the Docker deep dive book, and Rigel Politan, and I'll be talking on Rancher Kubernetes engine. So you can bookmark this if you want. You can subscribe. Else, everything I post on Twitter. Like I said, this is my Twitter handler at that Sayyam Pathak. I post everything on Twitter, so everything will be here. So definitely check this out if you really want to understand the depths of Docker, how it works, and all that from the captain himself. So he's one of the Docker captains. Also, these are some of my blogs. So I'm a blogger as well. I write a lot of blogs, and they are all free of cost to read. So they are on Medium. You can check them out. Again, at the rate Sayyam Pathak is what you can search on Medium, and you can find my blogs. And these are some of my meetup groups. Obviously, you people are based out of Chandigarh. That's my hometown. So whenever I'll be there, I'll try to come by and do one or the other session. Let's get back to the presentation. Apart from that, I am a CNCF ambassador, and these meetup groups are already there. I'm a Kubernetes member as well. I try to contribute as much as I can to the open source community, apart from the day-to-day work that we do for living. So that's it. That's for the introduction. Let's get started. So first, like I said, okay, how do I frame it? So Kubernetes is an orchestration engine. Let me go to the website itself so that you have just an idea. So this is a website for Kubernetes. So it is an production grade container orchestration engine, and it's open source, completely open source. Whatever we are talking today is all the tools, demos, everything is open source and free to use for lifetime. So Kubernetes is a production grade orchestration system. What do you mean by that? Say that, so first it comes, what is a container? Container is something that you run your application packaged inside a image. Everything, the source code libraries is packaged inside, and then you run it. For more clearance, I'll give you one good example. So say that you at your universities are working on some application, and you have built the application on your laptop. You have installed, say you are building a Java application. You install Java, you set the home path, and then you, first you download Java, set the home path, then you run the file, then you do ambient clean install to create a war file or jar file. Then you run that particular command, and you might be having Java of different version. And another thing that you have two programs, one is in Python 2 and one is in Python 3. So you have written all this. Then your friend and you are doing a project collaboratively. You give that war file or jar file to your friend and say that please run it and see how it looks like. He tries to run it, it doesn't run on his machine. So why is that? Because he don't have the exact same setup that you are having on your machine. So now this particular problem is a very big problem when it comes to enterprises, and people usually say this particular thing, like it works on my machine but it does not work in production. Like it works on my machine, it does not work in any of the cloud vendors. So that's where the concept of containers come. Now what containers will do is you package everything, your source code, libraries, dependencies, inside an image, inside one package which is called image. And that image is stored in various repositories like hub.docker.com and all that. And then you can run this particular image on any platform. You just need a Docker daemon over there or Docker engine. So if any machine, your machine, my machine, you have a Docker image, you give it to me, I can run that easily. So that's where Docker comes in. Now to manage one container, it's fine. To manage 2 containers, 10 containers, it's fine. But what about the enterprises who are trying to manage thousands of containers? Because one container will be one microservice. So in order to manage thousands of containers, tons of containers, you need to orchestrate them. They need to have self-healing capabilities. They have to be HA, and you need to have 10 replicas to manage load and all that stuff. To make this thing work, thing called Kubernetes was introduced. It's a long project which was running already in Google by the name of Borg and Omega, but they open sourced it. They have the ingredients and the core from Borg and Omega running at Google, and now it is called Kubernetes and donated to CNCF, open source. So that's a nutshell, because this session is not about, but still, if anybody is beginner, that's a nutshell of Kubernetes and Docker. So let's get back to our slide. Now that you understand at least what is container, what is Kubernetes, this is the architecture of Kubernetes. So in Kubernetes, what you have is you have a control plane on the left side, if you see the control plane, and on the right side, you have Kubernetes node, which is called the worker nodes. Now the control plane components are Kube Controller Manager, Cloud Controller Manager, Kube API Server, Kube Scheduler, and etcd. So don't be like worried about the terminology. Just try to understand the concept. So what happens is you tell the Kubernetes cluster to run a pod. A pod is nothing but a container. So you tell a Kubernetes cluster to run a pod. What happens is the request goes to Kube API Server. Then Kube API Server the scheduler will decide on which particular worker is free and has that particular set of capacity to run this node. The Kube scheduler will decide a particular node. On the node, which is where actually your workload runs, on the node, there is a component called kubelet, which keeps on polling Kube API Server that is there anything that I need to run. As soon as it sees that there's a pod to run, it is the responsibility of kubelet to pull the Docker image and to run it. So, and all the networking behind kube proxy and all that will be taken care. So all these things will be there on the worker node, and your application runs on worker node. The state of the Kubernetes cluster is stored in etcd. Etcd is a highly distributed database which stores the state of Kubernetes cluster. Like right now, you say that I want 3 replicas of my Nginx pod to be running. So it stores that particular thing in etcd. And when you delete one particular pod, again, it updates the etcd. So it stores the state of the cluster. So that's all in all Kubernetes architecture. You have master, you have worker. Master is responsible for managing what runs where, and node, which is called the worker, is where exactly your workload is running. And it is like you can run multiple pods. You can have 100 of worker nodes, and consider a node as a virtual machine. So node is equal to a virtual machine in any cloud. So that should not be a problem. And yes, so that's Kubernetes architecture. Some of the challenges, though everybody is using Kubernetes in production, and by 2021 or 22, I think I read some survey, I don't remember the name, but more than 70% of the workloads the industries are running will be containerized and be running as containers. And obviously, when you run it as containers, Kubernetes becomes a de facto choice for orchestrating engine. So some of the challenges, yes, it's a huge learning curve. It's difficult to understand the whole analogy of how things really work under the hood. And if you want to change some code and all that, so it requires a lot of understanding of that. It is also difficult because there are tons of components in Kubernetes that even after you work for a long time, then you keep on learning more. So it's ocean. You learn and learn and learn. It consumes a lot of RAM. So it's not, you cannot have a Raspberry small device and try to install a Kubernetes on top of it. So it's very difficult for that. It was not built for embedded devices. So there are a lot of other challenges. All the components that I told you, etcd, kube scheduler, the API server, they are not very tightly coupled. They run as separate processes, separate containers, but they do not run as a single process. So which leads to other stuff. If you see the Kubernetes GitHub repository, you will see that there are tons of things that actually people don't need. Like there are alpha features which mostly 90% of the enterprises do not use. It's only used for the R&D purposes, just to test out features. Then I'll walk you through some of the other features. So overcoming these challenges and seeing the adaptability of Kubernetes, there is a organization or a company, you can say, which is called Rancher. They make open source products, and they make really awesome open source products. One of their open source products is K3S. There is no full form of it. It's just a fancy name, K3S, because it sounds cool. So you have K3S, and it's a lightweight Kubernetes certified distribution. When we say certified distribution, it passes all the checks that Kubernetes mandates to become a certified distribution. Means under the hood, anything that you were running inside a Kubernetes cluster will work as it is inside a K3S cluster. Suppose I have a deployment A, which works fine in a Kubernetes cluster, and you spin up another K3S cluster and try to run the deployment with the YAML file. It will run as it is. So there is no issue with that. So K3S, as you can see on the screen, it's a lightweight certified Kubernetes distribution built for production. So it is not for development only purpose, though it makes development extremely easy. I'll let you know how easily you can create a development environment and start getting your hands dirty with Kubernetes with K3S. But the thinking of the developers when they were starting the development for K3S from scratch, the thing that was in mind was it should be production grade. It's not only for development. It's 50 MB or so binary. I'm not sure about the exact size, but yeah, it's around 50 MB. So very lightweight, not in GBs. Now, this particular point has to be noted very carefully. It runs everything as a single process. Your Kubernetes master, kubelet, containerd, everything runs as a single process. They do not use Docker under the hood. They use containerd, which is another containerization technology, which is a project of CNCF itself. Specifically, it started by Docker only, and it was then donated to CNCF. So it runs integrated containerd, but you have an option to run Docker as well. So there are different flags when you install. I'll show you how you can configure Docker for that. So SQLite, in addition to etcd, they not only have etcd, they have built interface Kine, which is called Kine, that lets you use any kind of database, DQLite, SQLite, MySQL, for having different set of performance and different set of use cases. So all this pluggable options. So K3s, you can plug lot of different things. You can plug Docker, you can remove Docker, it will be containerd. You can plug it, SQLite, you can deplug SQLite, you can use MySQL. So you can use all that stuff. When it was first released, it is released for all the OS operating systems, even for the ARM devices. I would like to emphasize on the ARM stuff because K3s runs perfectly fine and smoothly on a small Raspberry Pi device as well. So now you can have an IoT device, fleet of IoT devices running K3s cluster, and you can. So basically, you are having a full power of containers and Kubernetes for your embedded devices, for your devices which have very small memory, which has very small RAM and very small, hard drive, hard memory that you say. So that's really an important point. It's an open source project. It has a Helm controller inbuilt, service load balancer, local storage provider, expanded data store options. This I already covered, like MySQL, DQLite, and SQLite. So how did they make such a small binary production grade Kubernetes cluster? They removed a lot of stuff, which includes legacy and non-default features. So there are some of the legacy features that are hung there in the Kubernetes repository on GitHub, which are not required. So they have removed that. Like I said, they have removed all the alpha features. They have removed all the in-tree cloud providers and in-tree storage drivers, because not everyone uses that. If you want, you can use that, but they have removed it from the source code. So that is very good thing, and it removed tons of lines of code. And then you have Docker, which is optional. Add-ons is extreme simplified installation, and when we do the demo, you will feel like, wow, I can do it myself, and it's so simple. I don't have to care about first learning things, then installing. Directly install stuff and get your hands dirty, and then you learn. Because the more you practice, the more you learn. That's the only philosophy that works out. SQL3 support in addition to etcd. TLS management is there by default. Automatic manifest and Helm chart management. I'll show you the place where you can put the manifest and it's automatically deployed. Containerd, core DNS Planel, and these are some of the components which are already pre-integrated, pre-built into a single binary. So Planel is nothing but a networking solution. You have Planel, which will be working. So Planel will be working for that. The networking solution for the Kubernetes. You don't have to externally apply a deployment, a CNI plugin, a Calico and Flannel or Canal, etc. So Flannel is pre-integrated, pre-baked into the small binary. Let's see if we have a few questions. How to verify no single point of failure? I would love to hear more about this. Like, what sort of single point failure are you talking about, and in which context? Then how to explore the API without kubectl? Yeah, there are SDKs. You can use that. You can directly connect with the Kubernetes API using Python SDK, Go SDK. Even I think there is for Java that you can programmatically access. So that's what Kubernetes is, not only for administrators, it's also for the developers. So you have full control over your API server, and there all are REST APIs, REST endpoints. So you will be easily able to, write code and do stuff. We do it every day. So every day there is a new requirement, because nothing works out of the box perfectly. You have to have certain code, certain scripts that make your production environment work smoothly. So you already saw Kubernetes architecture. This particular thing is K3s architecture. Now things will look similar to you. Like you have API server, you have a scheduler, you have a controller manager, Here you have kubeproxy, you have kubelet, you have flannel. So what changes? The thing is, to this particular thing, if you see, everything is running as a single process. Now this makes sense. This increases the efficiency, and that's what they have built, a single integrated binary. So everything runs as a single process. And here comes SQLite. And containerd, it is the container runtime, which is the kubelet talks to the container runtime, and it is responsible for spinning up pods. So the containerd also can pull Docker images, run Docker images, just like Docker runs, but the runtime environment pre-baked into the K3s will be containerd. The future here will be you can build the images also now using K3s. So they have another, K3c. They have another not working, I would say. It's already there on GitHub. You can use it, but it's not integrated in K3s. So K3c and K3d, these are another two projects which will be integrated inside K3s, so that you have a complete build and deployment platform as a single K3s distribution. And you can see one more change over here, which is called the tunnel proxy. So what tunnel proxy does is, first time when it receives a request, the agent does a request to server to get a handshake. Once the handshake is established, then the communication with the master or the server and the agent becomes extremely fast, and you don't again and again have to pass anything extra for that. So tunnel proxy will be taking care of that. So this is a regular K3s architecture. I'll come back later on the HA architecture because that's a bit of complex thing. This is a regular Helm chart. If you're not aware, then it's completely fine. Above is just the location that I want to point, where you can put this particular Helm chart. And when you spin up the cluster, automatically the Helm chart will be deployed. So that was the main motive to put here. Why use K3s when I already have a Kubernetes distribution? Definitely this question is very important to answer. It's for edge devices. The first and the very good point that makes K3s as a strong distribution is that it works smoothly for edge devices. People are actually running their production grade workloads on Kubernetes and on K3s. It's not only for edge devices. People are also running their major platforms, developer platforms, everything using K3s, just because they are it is extremely easy to use it. Cloud and data center, continuous integration, ARM devices, simplified, secured. It is simplified and secure. All the security best practices are already taken into consideration by K3s. Let's come back to K3OS later. So we'll switch over to the demo part because we have a lot of demo which is there. And I'll go to, okay, what we'll do is, I already have a gist prepared. I'll post that gist in the chat for everyone. This is the gist. It's a public, I hope this is a public gist. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's a public gist, so anybody can view this. So that's not that should not be a problem. So we'll follow this gist, and I'll walk you through all the steps: setting up the cluster, deploying it, so that you feel that you have learned something and you did ran Kubernetes. So when you talk to your friends tomorrow, just say that I ran a Kubernetes cluster and I ran some containerized workload over there. So it's pretty cool, because it's one of the hottest tech out there. And it's even for running your machine learning and AI workloads. Things like Kubeflow is there, and even I run machine learning platforms, so I know how big impact Kubernetes plays in running machine learning workloads. So if you see the first link in your gist, whatever I posted, it redirects you to katacoda.com, which is a very handy tool for me. Whenever I take sessions, I usually use Katacoda because it's very easy, it's free, and I can tell the folks who have joined, you can also use it and perform the demo. So it's pretty cool. So this is a simple Ubuntu playground, Katacoda playground. You get a terminal, you get your interactive bash shell. If just type ls, it's nothing. pwd, it gives the directory, mkdir, just normal commands. So you get all this stuff. So now what we'll do is we'll install on a plain Ubuntu server. So think of it as a plain Ubuntu server. So take it like you have any machine. It just has a operating system. That's it. Let's go to k3s.io and copy a small single command and paste it. So it will be finding the latest release. It will download, do the checksum and download the binary from the correct hash. And it's actually downloading the latest and the greatest version of Kubernetes, which is 1.18.2. And you won't believe that most of the organizations are still running 1.10, 11, things like that. But every 3 months, Kubernetes releases its one version. Now, I think August is the timeline for the next 1.19. Anyways, so right now the latest version is 1.18, and after that the .12 is some of the enhancements, the bug fixes, and all that stuff that happens. So you can see it downloaded the library and created some symlinks, and it created the directory and started the systemd K3s service, single process. So I'll clear the screen so for a better view. And then, yeah, okay, we installed already and we'll deploy something now. Okay. Let me check first the nodes are ready or not. Yeah. So kubectl get nodes is a command to check the number of nodes since it is a single host. So it is in ready status. It is a master. And so you can see with less than 60 seconds, you are able to provision a Kubernetes cluster. Those who are not aware of Kubernetes, trust me, spinning up Kubernetes was not an easy job. Maybe I would say 1 year back. So it's you have to have a lot of components integrated, and you have to have a lot of tools that installers like kubeadm, kubespray, kops that helps you with the installation. Though they have eased the installation, but still there are a lot of commands that you need to run. This is the simplest that anyone could do. Just one single command and you have your Kubernetes cluster up and running on a plain Ubuntu playground without installing any other tool. Isn't that amazing? To me, it is very amazing, and it sounds so cool. Okay, I ran one command, my cluster is ready, man. So it's pretty cool. And here's the version of Kubernetes. So like I said, all the Kubernetes command, including kubectl get nodes, kubectl create okay, let's create it. Kubectl run nginx. So it creates a pod. All the normal commands will work as it is. If I do now kubectl get pods, it should give me one nginx pod which is running. I ran it 7 seconds ago. It's up and running. Now in Kubernetes world, what happens is you not only install Kubernetes, there are tons of applications you have to install after you have installed Kubernetes. Why? A lot of reasons. First, all these applications, or I would say all the projects, so all these are open source projects. So all the open source projects are required to do one or the other task. Like Kubernetes is excellent for handling your workloads. Now you want to have monitoring on top of it. You need Prometheus. You want to visualize your data, what is happening inside the cluster or the matrix. You need Grafana. You need a database influx or maybe some other time series database to show your data. You maybe want to run a serverless application, so you need an external application like OpenFaaS. So all these things you need to install, but there is one good thing, I mean, one cool tool that I would, not one, actually, I'll tell you a lot more cool tools, but the first one I would like to tell is Rancher itself. So I remember I told you like K3S is product of Rancher. Rancher has it's the main product which is called Rancher itself. So it's a dashboard that gives you a single view of all the Kubernetes clusters. So I have a YAML over here. So Kubernetes understands the language of YAML, YAML. So it's a YAML syntaxing. So like this, you create a namespace. Like this, you create a service account. You create a cluster role binding. You create a deployment. Deployment will be nothing but basically what you want to run, how many replicas you want, how many copies basically of your application, and then what is the image. So here you provide the image of Docker or any other repository where you have stored, and these are some of the ports that you want to expose, and these are some of the volume mounts, and this is the service. So in Kubernetes, what happens is you create a deployment. So the deployment defines the application you want to run. So suppose take those two developers who created a Java application at Chandigarh University itself. So they will create a Docker image, and you have a Docker image that can run the application. Now in Kubernetes world, you run it as a deployment. So in deployment, you will give the image name that the student has already developed. And then you give other configurations like if it needs any port to run, or what should be the name and other specifications of that particular application. Also in Kubernetes world, once you deploy an application, in order to access that application over internet, you need something called service. So when you create the service, it will give you a IP address, and depending on the cloud provider, if you give a load balancer or things like that, so it gives you a IP address, and you can easily deploy this particular application. I will not touch upon ingress, it will be too much, but I find all namespaces. So Kubernetes works in a concept of namespaces, and by default, it has an ingress controller, which is called Terrific. I'm a Terrific ambassador as well. So it runs Terrific by default as your ingress controller, so that you can expose a service without a node port or without a load balancer, and with Terrific, you can route your application, your basically your call to the URL to the application which is running inside your Kubernetes cluster. It's okay if you don't understand this particular piece. So what we'll do is we'll copy everything, whatever is here. Let's copy from this particular portion. Don't copy the Rancher deployment, okay? So copy this particular portion till the ingress itself. Just copy it here. We'll do a VI. VI is just Vim for creating files. Press I to insert, and then Control V. So you can see your things are pasted correctly. Now to create objects from Kubernetes, whatever we have defined in a file, this is the command. It will create the namespace. So all the components that are there, you can create them individually. So from this particular three dashes, this is one component. Ingress is one component. Service is another. The kind basically is object, Kubernetes object. Then you have deployment, one component, cluster role binding one, this one, service account, and then your namespace. So you should have 5 or 6 components. And yes, you have 5 or 6 components created. Now, if I do a kubectl, and this is the namespace, after slash, whatever is there is a namespace. So kubectl get pods -n kettle. Sorry, it's not the namespace, it's the name of the object. The whatever we have mentioned in the name is that. So let's see in the kettle system namespace, what all things are deployed. You have a cattle cluster, which is up and running. kubectl get deploy -n cattle system. You can see my deployment is up and running. 1 out of 1 containers is running. It's up to date 64 seconds ago. Then let's go do kubectl get pods -n hyphen all namespaces. It will give you a list of all the pods. Now what we want to do is we want to actually access the application. How do we do that? Let me see. Okay, it has. Fine. Let's do kubectl get svc hyphen all namespaces. So you can see some of the already created services which were there by default when you spin up your K3s server, which is default, so which is the Kubernetes one, kubedns, metric server, traffic Prometheus. This one we created. So this one is, you can see 100 seconds ago, this one we created, and this is the traffic. So what happens is, what we do is you click on the plus icon over here, open a new port, and copy 31821. It might be different for you because it can be different. Yeah. So, okay, we go on the port 80 and you can see you have Rancher up and running. I'll just put a password. So this is the application I'm deploying, I'm accessing, which we just deployed on Katakoda Playground. So you see how easy it was to install an application on a Kubernetes cluster. So we did not only, oops, sorry. I'll just remove this. I don't know, chat is expanding. So we already have Kubernetes cluster, which was very easy to set up. Then we have installed on top of this particular cluster application, and we are accessing it. And how many minutes have we spent? Not even 10 to 15 minutes. It's the cluster itself is 8 minutes old. If you see, the cluster itself is 10 minutes old. That's it. In 10 minutes, we spend up a Kubernetes cluster. We deployed one application and we are accessing it. And now I'll show you another cool. So this is another cool tool, which is called Arcade. So like I told you before, in Kubernetes, you definitely, there is no chance that you will not need more number of applications to install. Like we installed Rancher, there are a lot of other applications that we definitely need to install. For example, we need OpenFast. Let's first see what all things we can install. So installation of Arcade is extremely simple. Did I press back? Okay, installation of Arcade is extremely simple, similar to what K3s is. I'll just clear the screen for better view. So we'll just do this. Curl command and Arcade will be installed. You can see Arcade is installed. So if you read this line, get Kubernetes apps the easy way. So actually developers around the globe, they are making your life easier. So you go out in the industry, you say that you know Kubernetes concepts and you have hands-on experience with creating applications. You actually do not need any other person. You yourself will be able to spin up, manage, handle, install applications for your Kubernetes cluster inside a production environment. I'm definitely sure that you'll be able to do it if you are a hardcore developer. So no need to be a hardcore sysadmin or a Linux expert to be a Kubernetes expert. Though some level of Linux, Docker things are required, but you don't need to be an expert of it. And those who do not like coding, it's completely fine. You don't have much of coding here. Yes, you will need to write scripts, maybe in Python or Bash, whatever. Yes, you need to write YAML files. You can't escape that. Though you can cheat that by using other tools that can help you creating the YAMLs also. But yeah, all in all, you should have a good understanding of the fundamentals, like how things are working behind the scenes. So what we'll say is Arcade. So Arcade help, we'll do Arcade help. Arcade help. So it will give me, okay, Arcade install hyphen help will do. So these are some of the applications which are already there. I'm just highlighting them. So these are some of the applications that you can readily install on this particular Kubernetes cluster with just simple commands. So what we'll do is let's install Jenkins. So whatever I feel is, whatever I have seen in the university students, they have most of the times they have heard of Grafana, they have heard of Jenkins. So let's install these particular apps and see how that works. So command is simple. I hope so. It's simple. It is. Arcade install Grafana, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to understand Helm and things like that. It has refused the connection. Okay, failed to query. Okay, since we are running this in Katacoda cluster, so I think that's why it is creating some sort of issues, because Katacoda environment doesn't give you a full-fledged VM like of feeling. Beneath, inside Katacoda also is running, I think, as a container itself, so you don't get much of the capabilities. But let's see if it installs something. I don't think so. It would have installed, by the way. We'll install some other apps which do not require this particular stuff. Okay, so what we'll do is let's try some other application and see if it works. Then I have one more idea to show you this. So it is able to download the chart easily, but yeah, so it is not able to get the default labels and connection for this particular stuff. So what we'll do is, I think I know the issue. Let me go to my gists. Sorry, go to my gist, not somebody else's gists. Let's do, yes, I think this was missing because it tries to refer to kube config file, which is not at this location. So, and when you install K3s, so it installs the kube config file in this particular location. And I think the arcade is searching for this. Let's try to install it again and see if it works this time. Awesome. That was the issue. So what you do is I'll put that, and again, it's in one of my gists. So I keep on rotating my gist. I'll post it in the chat, this particular command. Let's go back to our gist as well. Okay. Anyways, I think we are done with that particular gist. Still, if we need, we can use that. Yeah, we are almost done with this particular gist. Leave that. So you can see it took not even 10 seconds to install Jenkins using Arcade. And now let's install Grafana as well, because I think things are working fine now. It was just one variable, one export, which was trying to get the kube config from the default location. That was the issue. So Arcade install Grafana. And we'll access that. So like we accessed Rancher, and you can see our cluster is active. And actually Rancher helps you managing a lot of stuff. If you want to explore more about Rancher, I have already a video on YouTube. I gave a live session on that, how you can do that. So even I have blogs about it. So you can see the nodes, you can see projects, you can see members, you can deploy applications from here. You can see what was there in system namespace, what all pods are there. So all those things you can see in Rancher itself. So let's see. Okay, your Grafana is installed as well. Okay, let's get the password and all. So it gives you all the instructions for having your secret namespace and all that stuff. So you can get your kubectl secret namespace. When you install using Arcade, it will give you all the instructions in order to use your application. So okay, I installed Jenkins, but my password account anyways. This would be one of the password. Then what else we have? Let's see if this command is working. Last time there was some issue with this command. Yes, it always has this issue. So I'll cleverly what we'll do to just minimize the work over here is I'll quickly change. Not we can do anything actually. Namespaces. These are just regular kubectl commands which are very handy and easy to use. So actually, and okay, Grafana namespace. No need to understand this particular stuff. I'm just trying to show you the Grafana dashboard. I'll change this to, yeah. So I'll remove this particular portion and type node port over here, save it. Okay, some value is missing. Okay, let's quit this and do it again. So I hope you are able to at least understand what is happening. In the end, it is just pulling the Helm chart. So Helm is another CNCF graduated project, recently graduated, I would say, and you can, just play around with it. I have a session on it, which helps you get started on Helm. So it just picks up Helm chart and does some configuration, and you don't have to care about it, what it does in the backend, but it helps you a lot in not knowing what is getting behind the scenes done. I'll copy this port. I'll go back here instead of 80. I hope this should work. Oh, is it? Oh, 3080. Why this happened? 30805. So you can see my Grafana login has appeared, and it's working perfectly. And I can log in and I can do whatever you want. So your Grafana application is up and running. Similarly, you can do for Jenkins. So you have a lot of applications. I showed you Arcade, install, help. You can see the applications which are already there. You can install Terrific. Terrific is already installed because it is Rancher. It's K3s cluster, and K3s by default come with Terrific. You can install Kubernetes dashboard, endless operator, Grafana, Docker registry, and all that applications. So these are all the Kubernetes applications, the most widely used Kubernetes application that you can install on your cluster. So let's go back to our presentation. After K3s, there is also something called K3 OS, which is a minimal OS running the best way to run K3s. So ability to upgrade and configure using kubectl, versatile installation. You have so the file structure will be like of any operating system. You must be knowing the file structure. So the file structure of K3s OS is booted like follows. You have your etc, which is ephemeral. You have your user, which is /user, which is read only. You have K3OS, that is the important directory. You have home, var, opt, user, local. So all these things are there. K3OS is another project. You can just skim around it. That was not the goal for this presentation. Since the slide is there, so I'm talking about that. And this is another community project. You can go through it. We already did the demo.